Green flags, the episode of positivity. Welcome to episode 3, green flags. And why green flags? Well, it makes sense to have the green flags episode directly after red flags, but also when we're always talking about domestic violence and red flags and about negative behaviors and abuse and violence, it can get very negative and it feels like we're dwelling on the negative. So it is nice now and then to break it up with a positive episode talking about the amazing green flags in relationships, green flags about men that we ship, men that we love, and all good things. So, it is only episode 3 and we're already going, let's have a break from the negative, but you have to follow red flags with green flags. It's hashtag facts, hashtag science. Let's get into it. So welcome, I'm Natalie Moore, and this is episode 3 of the Love is a Battlefield podcast. Now, why do we get involved in relationships? How have you ended up listening to me? Thank you. Love it. So why have we all ended up here? Why are you listening to me? Why am I talking to you? What has got us having experiences in life that has led us to wanting to share and know more about domestic violence and other people's experience of domestic violence and things like that? What has led us to here is love. I love love. It's beautiful. It feels amazing. It's actually, not to be all hashtag facts on you, but it's actually neuroscience that the brain releases neurochemicals like oxytocin, vasopressin, and serotonin when you are falling in love, and those neurochemicals make you feel amazing and they bond you with that other person, and then you want to be around that other person more, and that can actually lead to trauma bond, coming up in a future episode. But love is the drug I'm thinking of. A classic line from a classic song, and it couldn't be more right. Love is amazing. It feels great, and when you get it, you want more and you want to be around that person more because you're getting those amazing neurochemicals and you feel great. So that's why we end up taking that risk, taking that leap, risking. Women die by their partner's hands. I have been through DV, yet I'm still a romantic at heart. I'm loving seeing friends and people I know fall in love and get married. I still love it and support it because it is such a beautiful thing. And I really think every person on this planet, except evil, nasty abusers and pedophiles and things like that, and rapists, every other person on this planet deserves a companion for life. That long, lifelong love, beautiful relationships. So what is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. I've gone over the neurochemicals and how that works, but I love a definition. I'll say the first couple. Noun. 1. A strong feeling of warm personal attachment or deep affection, such as for a parent, child, friend, or pet. The example is, he bent and kissed his newborn daughter on the brow, his heart full of love and gratitude. Number 2. A profoundly tender, passionate affection, often mingled with sexual desire for another person. The example is, the couple's ardent love for each other poured out in these love letters, survived their wartime separation. I thought, that's cool. They're pretty good examples. Not realizing, keep scrolling down, Natalie. There's 24 different examples and definitions for the word love. Now, love is like the F word, that I've chosen to try not to swear on the podcast. Hashtag challenge. It's like the F word. That has so many different meanings. As you know, you can say it aggressively or you say it in a cheeky, charming way to your best mate. You can say it when expressing anger or joy or so many things. Love is so similar. Another thought is, when you're, I don't know if you have done this, but you're a young adult and you're clubbing and you go in the bathroom, you've had a few beverages and you meet other girls in the bathroom and you're like, hey girlfriend, and they're like, hey girlfriend, and you just have these wild chats and you just get deep, and someone will be talking about a boyfriend and you go, you don't need him, girl, you're beautiful, you're so hot, and then become like besties within a minute, and within like 3 minutes you can be telling them, oh my gosh, I love you, you're amazing. They're like, I love you too, have the best night ever. And that can happen. Or you can be with your friends and have a couple of drinks and go, I love you, man. Or you can have some yummy chippies or something else that you like and go, oh, these chips are so great, I love them. Or I love this show. The word love can be used so much, but you know where it's banned? In the start of a relationship. Am I right or am I right? In the start of a relationship when you say, well, you can't say I love you. You can't just meet someone, get on really well with them and go, oh, you're so funny, I love you. If you drop the L-bomb in the first part when no one's ready to drop the L-bomb, and it's called the L-bomb because it's a bomb, it's so serious. It's like an awkward thing. And some people want to not be the first to say it, so they're waiting for the other one to say it, or it slips out. And you can feel it. You're both giving each other gooey eyes. I don't know if you know, but sometimes you can see in the eyes. You can see them like, oh, it's so exciting. But you can't drop it. And then when you say the L word in a relationship, it's heavy and it's serious. Yet the word in every other context is not as serious. And that's really fascinating. But that's why we do what we do, because of love. Because it's so amazing and the feeling. And then once you both say it and you're both on the same page, it's great. So let's get into talking about some red. Did I just say red? Red is banned today. The color red is banned. We are not having stop. We are having go, go, go. Green, green, green. Happy all day. I cannot believe I said red. Green flags. Let's talk about the green flags. Now, I have penciled down a list of green flags, and I'm pretty proud that this list is longer than my red flags list. I mean, yes, red flags, I could have gone on. Green flags, I can continue to go on. You can think of more, and then if you're talking to someone about it the next day, you go, oh yeah, what about this and that? You can always think of more. But the green flags just flowed and I love it. And that shows that someone like me who's been through so much abuse, so much trauma, I still can see the positive because it's not me that's the problem. I've always thought love is great and positive, but I'm now aware of keeping safe. But it doesn't mean I'm all up in my negatives. It's all positive today. Okay, the list. The first green flag that comes to mind is kind of bouncing off last week's red flag where I was saying everyone is on their best behavior in those first few months. It's the honeymoon phase, and that's why when you see red flags during that time, it's a little bit of an alarm bell because everyone puts their best foot forward in those early stages. So the green flags is when that behavior continues after those first few months, after the honeymoon period. It's called consistency, all about consistency, continuing that positive way they're treating you. So someone treating you really well at the start to draw you in is called love bombing and grooming. And they do that to get those neurochemicals going in your brain where you create that attachment. So later down the track, when they abuse you, you're already attached. So they have more control of you. Ugh, it's creepy when you actually think about how planned and calculated some people who treat others like this are, and how they might even subconsciously know that something works, so they do it. But the neuroscience behind it is it's knowing that they're actually creating those natural loving bonds by doing this grooming and love bombing so they can control you. The fact that actually works, it's really... Oh, did I just catch myself talking negatively? Natalie, that sounded like a parent. I scared myself. I thought I was in trouble. The deep voice. I said my own name in a stern voice. I'm like, oh, what did I do? So green flags are all about consistency. They are consistent with their behaviors, feelings, and the way they treat you. So next is they are reliable. If they say they're going to do something, they do it. If they can't, the next one, communicate. If someone can't be somewhere, they'll tell you, and they communicate and just let you know. You're never sitting there stressing over the relationship, wondering what they're thinking. You just know, not because they're love bombing you and flooding you with messages all day and all night, because if something's happening or they can't make it somewhere, like there's just that general communication where they're reliable and they do communicate. Feelings as in they're not trying to withhold love as if it's some prize that you must earn. That they just, if they feel nice and happy and good things toward you, that they express that. If they do end up falling in love with you, they eventually tell you. They don't intentionally not say it for years and years when you're having children and living together. And, they have feelings. They're more open about them. They communicate. Oh, it's so good. They don't have a drawer full of G-strings. That takes us back to the last episode where I was trying to think of a random red flag of something you might find physically, an object. That's the first thing that came to mind. I was trying to think of something really red flag. That's what I came up with. So yeah, they don't have a drawer full of G-strings unless they wear them, and each to their own, go off king. but it's not a dirty secret. They're honest. They communicate. They're not pushy. They're not pushing the relationship fast. They're just letting it go with the flow, naturally develop. If they're not sure of the timing or speed of something, too fast, too slow, they communicate. They respect your boundaries. Anything you express to them, they are going to say, oh, okay. Oh, so that actually upsets you. Oh, yeah. Well, this upsets me. Oh, yeah. And you just basically, I'm just reading this and thinking it comes down to communication, like open, honest, healthy communication. They speak well of women in their life. They don't call exes psycho or use that creepy technique that one that I knew did in using fake empathy to deliver pretty unsettling stories about their ex, saying they're an alcoholic, drug addict and mentally ill. And then he goes on to try and convince people the same about me, the second victim. So they don't say anything negative about their ex, even if they're using some kind of, oh, but she can't help it, I'm really worried about her language. They're just, if something did happen, like if their ex, this is a tricky one. If a guy says his ex cheated, I'm still not buying it until I get to know them. I'm not going to completely disregard it, and I really hope that they're being honest. But I know a lot of abusers or cheaters who lost previous relationships due to those behaviors will lie. People say, oh, what happened with your last relationship? Why are you single? They will lie and say, oh yeah, she cheated on me, knowing that you aren't going to contact her and find out the truth. That's actually a common thing that I've heard has happened. And so while I do not want to disregard it, and I really, really hope they're being honest, it would take me a while to sort of get to know them and suss that one out. But there can be bad things that the other partner has done, but it's just, you know it, you feel it, it's in the delivery. So good green flags are when they just don't go all, oh, my ex is effing psycho, don't like psycho bitch. They talk respectfully of people, even if it's not the greatest, although that was a technique that someone did. So that's about manipulators though. We can't really talk about manipulators when it comes to red and green flags because they know what they're doing. So if you say, oh, if someone says this, it's good. If someone says this, it's bad. This is all general from my life experience advice. Manipulators are next level where they can say the exact same sentence as a genuinely nice person with the same tone, the same facial expressions, yet they're just emulating what a nice person would say. And it's sick and scary. So I think I really need to step away from talking about manipulators because it does kind of confuse the general idea and message of green flags and red flags. I think we have to generalize and know, disclaimer, there is always an exception to the rule. Manipulators. So going on from there, I've written they take responsibility, either talking about previous relationships, previous mistakes like at work or life or current issues. They can say sorry, and you can too. This is important in relationships, that we learn to say sorry. It's part of that healthy communication. It's so beautiful and it strengthens the relationship. Now, if you do something weird or wrong or a bit off, they'll communicate it to you. They won't just build resentment and then use that as an excuse for their poor behavior. I'm sure we've all heard or experienced cheaters who go, well, I wasn't happy because you were saying this or doing this, so I can justify cheating. No, mate. You were not communicating that, and now you're using it as an excuse. If you're not willing to bring that to the relationship and communicate it and work through it, you are a child. No, I don't want to insult children. That's really cruel to children, comparing them to cheaters. Sorry, children, you are nothing like nasty cheaters. Oh, is that a swear word? Shh, don't tell anyone. Here's another one. They are genuinely invested in the relationship and work with you to strive for its success. They don't have to spend every waking moment with you, but you're both on the same page about how much time to spend together and how you do spend that time. Now, this one can get pretty deep. Someone could say, oh, my ideal for a relationship and what I want is I want to see you 1 day a week for 2 hours and that's it. I just don't have extra time in my life. Yes, I want a relationship. Yes, I'm committed to you. Yes, I love you, but I want to see you once a week. And that's how I do relationships. And if you don't like that, you can leave, kind of thing. And if the other person, like yourself, is agreeable to that, are you really? And that's my point, is that a healthy, beautiful green flag relationship is where you both put forward your expectations for the relationship and you come up with what suits both of you. And if it doesn't work out, you move on. But you actually have that communication and allow that to happen. So I didn't want to just say, oh, you agree on how much time to spend together and your expectations in the relationship, because I have been in that myself where they've said, oh, well, this is all I want to see. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay. And I've just agreed, but it's not what I've wanted. And so in a healthy relationship, you could both express that. Like I remember being young. I always say being young, like I'm pushing 80 or something. What I'm trying to say is I wanted to get married and have babies one day. So I was looking for long-term relationships. I was looking for the one. And you'd meet those guys that were like, oh, don't be clingy. Like, I don't want to spend all the time with you. And you'd feel so guilty if you wanted to see them. You would feel like, oh no, I'm what guys hate. Men hate women that like them. Men hate women that want to spend time with them or be near them. Men hate women that talk or exist and have pulses. Am I right? Like, and so you're trying to play it cool and be like, oh no, I'm cool. Yeah, I don't have to see you much. No, I got things going on. I'm an independent woman who don't need no man. No, it's okay. But really, you actually do want to see them as anyone would in a healthy relationship where you both like each other. And it's kind of like commitment phobia. Just my point is green flags are where you're both on the same page. And if there's any kind of discrepancies, you can communicate about it and you can bring it up without fear that they are going to get defensive and nasty. Healthy communication is a green flag. Like FIFO relationships, some people don't want to be in them. I was a person in the Defence Force and they were never home much, and it's like a lifestyle. And FIFO, where they go away for so many weeks at a time and home for so many weeks at a time, that's a lifestyle that impacts the relationship. And as long as you're both agreeable to how long that goes for in the relationship and you're both content and happy for it to proceed, that's the thing. It's when you aren't happy and you don't feel you can voice that is the other colour that we will not speak of today. We must not go there. Yes, there's a note. And then there can be others that own a business together and literally spend 24/7 together. And it's not a bad thing. There's this whole dialogue that says if a couple spends too much time together, that it's bad, it's toxic, it's horrible. But there are couples that spend a great deal of time together and they're happy and content, and that works for them. It's what works for you guys. Moving on. They don't flirt with other women in that they don't have those fragile egos that need inflating. They have confidence. And we all know ego and confidence are completely separate. Ego needs constant inflating and confidence just is. It is what it is. Next, they do their fair share around the house. Speaking of, I have to share this with you. There is a post on my Love is a Battlefield TikTok page, and I've actually found out it's at Love is a Battlefield. It has no D. So if you want to find my TikTok page, it's at Love is a Battlefield. But no D. We don't want the D around. Oh my gosh. So on my Love is a Battlefield TikTok page, I have this screenshot on my TikTok that I want to share and read to you. It's powerful, man. Okay. Men that don't rape women are not special. Men that don't cheat are not special. Men that treat women with equality are not special. Men that cook in their homes and take care of the baby are not special. This is what a normal man should be like. That got me all in my feels. I was hashtag reflecting. I came up with some thoughts and then I just kept getting deeper into hashtag overthinker. But what I came up with was, yes, we have always idolized and put on a pedestal a man that does the bare minimum. Oh, you changed a nappy. What a man. You have a peeing in your pants. You don't have to do that. Yet his wife or partner has changed 20,000 nappies, but he changed one, and he has a legal and ethical and social right to not have to do that. What a man. That's traditionally like an exaggerated kind of dramatic reenactment of what it's like when we do that. And I was thinking, gosh, we've got to stop doing that. And then I realized why we did it. But then I realized a third thing. The second thing, why we do it. Do you know why? That's how you train animals and children. Positive reinforcement. It is a natural thing. We see them always doing XYZ. We really want them to do, what's another letter of the alphabet before X? Oh no. T. And we're like, hey, when you do T, you're amazing. So it's positive reinforcement. We are trying to train them like dogs or animals or children because we know positive reinforcement works in encouraging people to change their behaviors. And we're also doing it because we hope when we publicly positively reinforce a man, that other men see, look, he's getting glory and attention. If you too do these positive behaviors, you too will get that glory and attention. Women are subconsciously using positive reinforcement as a tool to encourage men to have less crappy behaviors. So the third thing that hit me, the penny drop moment, they know. Men know. They know green flags. They know red flags. It is not rocket science to figure out what a woman wants. They want to be safe, loved, and treated well. Men know. So that really hit me when I realized, oh yeah, no, we have to do this positive reinforcement. Us women, it's on us to do that. It's on us to positively reinforce them so they know, because they don't know. Men know. Men mansplain every single thing on the planet to us. Yet we think they are so stupid. They don't know how to wash a dish. They don't know how to put a toilet seat down. They don't know how to clean or change a nappy. They know. They don't know how to treat a woman with respect. They know. It's not hard. They just don't have to do it because the patriarchy has raised them that they don't have to do it. And it's not it is their fault because they know and they should know better. And to treat someone less than you is not right. But at the same time, they have been raised by the same patriarchy that raised us. And I know I used to think serving a man was it because I was raised by that same thing. And as we are changing, we have to keep pushing against it to change it in generations to come. I'm hoping that things are so different. Things have changed a bit, but they're still changing. Did I just go a little bit red? No, it was a touch of pink, but not red. That was not a red flag because the green flags were those expectations that were listed in that TikTok screenshot that I read out, that men who don't do bad things are not special, or do good things are not special. And that's it. We're talking about green flags today. They know the green flags. Hi, future me here popping in your ear suddenly. Sorry if that frightened you. But I just recorded this after I recorded the whole episode, and I'm letting you know I actually had to cut a whole bit of me going on and on and on about green flags here, because at the end of the episode I have a really long, pretty heavy story time share, and the green flags, I just really went on for too long. I mean, had some great points. I even had my own penny drop moments while chatting, but had to cut it short. A little disclaimer that there were so many green flags, it literally took over the entire podcast and they had to be destroyed. But we're going to talk about green flags, red flags all the time as we discuss certain topics and subjects. So let's get back into today. So I'm going to leave it there because I've been talking for ages and I could keep going on, but it is getting a bit boring. Like, are you finding this episode a bit boring? I think green flags are boring because red flags are like new and they stimulate our minds to think, wow, I never thought of that. But yeah, of course someone who does that could end up being like that. And it's like watching true crime. They say that women like true crime documentaries more than men because we are watching them as a safety thing to prepare ourselves. Like, if that happens to me, what can I do to get out of that situation? They say it's like some subconscious drive to learn about what can happen so that you can be safer. So red flags are more interesting to talk about, and domestic violence terms are, because they're fascinating to learn and reflect on. Whereas green flags are like, we knew that. And that's the whole point of today's, we know green flags. Men know green flags. Everyone knows the ideal standards and things that people typically like and want to be treated like in a relationship. People want to be safe. They want to be secure. They want to have honesty and communication. So apologies if it's a bit boring, but I'm about to have a pretty big share with you, and so big that I'm not talking about emails coming in today or anything like that. It's only about one little aspect of DV. And so I did decide green flag episode actually ends now. The positivity is over. Bring back the negative. No. No, what I mean is every episode I want to share something about DV because so many different little events have happened in my life that I want to share, and something is driving me to tell people about them, as vulnerable as they are, as exposing myself and how I feel so stupid for getting in those situations when I'm sharing this. I know what it was like during it and after it, and how I was so desperate to feel like I wasn't the only one. And so I'm going to share something today now that I went through, and I'm not going to have any email for advice. If you do, for future episodes, want to email in, it is loveisabattlefieldpodcast@gmail.com, and you can ask advice about relationships or spill some tea, got any juicy tea, or talk about domestic violence and something that happened with you that you'd like me to talk about on the podcast. But today that's not happening. So we're switching it up now. Enough of the green flags. It was important not to stay in the negative with the red and just try and put a shout out to the green. So that brings us to what happened to me. Lots of things happened. Today I'm talking about hiding. It came from the first episode when I joked about how DIY podcasters record in cupboards. And I'd made a joke because, making jokes out of trauma is a coping mechanism. I made a joke about, I've been locked in a cupboard. And then later I thought, well, no, I don't remember if I was ever locked in there. Maybe once. But most of the time I was hiding in the cupboard, in toilets, on peed on floor, in bathrooms, anywhere I could during his a person who I will not mention, his violent periods of time. So I thought I'll share a bit of that today and what it feels like and what actually happened. So this person, one of people I have dated, was very, very violent. The one that I nearly lost my life to. They would switch into this other personality and just start being violent and start yelling out accusations at me, like in front of some children who were present. And they would yell out things like, you're abusive, you're horrible, you're aggressive. And it was so weird. Their eyes would go like black, and then pupils would go big, and then they'd just start being this other person. Now, as a mother, it's your priority. See how my whole affect has changed? It's like I want to share it, but it's a lot, and it's pretty vulnerable. As a mother in DV, and other women who've been through DV can vouch for this. There's always exceptions to every rule, but most of us, we put our kids first. And I knew when he was like this, it was you're bad, following me around and going, you're bad, you're horrible, look at what you're doing right now, you're abusing me. Are you ignoring me? Well, that's abuse. And just on me. And so I thought I have to. I think most people know you've got to disengage. And I was a mental health nurse at this time. You disengage. If you are the problem and they are saying, if there is a nurse at work and there is one patient violent and aggressive saying, well, you're bad, we move that nurse to another spot and then bring in another nurse because they were targeting them. I knew I was his target, and he was using my existence as an excuse to manipulate people around that I was bad and things were bad. And so I thought, I've got to disengage. Every time I tried to disengage, the more I tried to disengage, the more abuse I got. I did not want to be in a domestic violence relationship. I was mature and had grown up and knew that is not for me. I did everything to avoid it. I vetted this person. And so I did not want to partake in these games, these childish, disgusting games. But at the same time, my children are my priority. So how do I draw this person away from them? This person is traumatizing my children. If I'm getting hit, they're traumatized. If I'm near him, he starts yelling out very distressing content that is traumatizing them. So if I can disengage and put a wall between us, he will stop those behaviors and they will be less traumatized. They were my main priority. So I would hide. I would hide on the worst place was this toilet floor of this toilet that was covered in pee on the floor. And I had to put my face down on it so I could look under the door to see the feet for when he's coming for me. And it is much like a horror film. You are terrified and you see them coming. You then have to, if he's coming near, you have to back away from the door because he tore off in only probably so many weeks. I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. He tore off 4 door handles and kicked down so many doors, this person that I knew once in my life. I did leave. I'll get into that later. Please do not focus on, why? We need to focus on the criminal's behaviour. So I did risk assessments. Some person who was a professional in domestic violence told me that once, that domestic violence victims are always constantly risk assessing and deciding what the best thing to do for the best response. And that's not always leave. In fact, leaving's how I nearly lost my life. Leaving is very dangerous, and in the situations where I was hiding in these specific times, Every time this person's abusive, he would take my phone, my keys, and my purse off me. So I couldn't have any independence. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't call police. I couldn't call for help. So I knew going barefoot to the local, like fleeing the building and dragging my kids to the local service station or somewhere where I could get help would have traumatized my children more. And doing that often it's too much trauma on them. So I did a risk assessment and wanted to minimize the impact on them. So in specific moments, hiding was the smartest thing to do, to disengage and try to get that behavior to stop. Obviously, it only, this person at this time, it only took weeks, like before I was gone. And it takes a length of time to realize this is something that's not changing. This is a behavior that's continuing. I'm not safe. My children aren't safe. We're out. So I was hiding on a toilet floor, waiting for him to run up and smash it down. But I'll talk about the toilet floor right now because I vividly remember this. I remember sitting there so conscious in the moment thinking, I'm too mature for this. I'm past this. This is too much. I am not tolerating this. But knowing, going over and over my head, what are the options? This is the best option. And feeling so ashamed, like sitting on the floor of a toilet, waiting for him to settle down, waiting for a moment where I could be safe so I could run past him to get to my kids. And that moment was so, like, I sat there and just thought, there are people out there living their lives and I'm doing this. Why? How did I get here? And you have so much shame and you're just like, how did I end up here? Why am I doing this? And you go over and over and you think, am I part of his game? Am I joining in his ridiculous game he's playing by hiding in a toilet? But you go over and over everything you're doing and you're like, this is the best thing I can do right now for the best outcome. But it is ridiculous that someone gave me a decision to make where this was the best option, sitting on a dirty, urine-covered toilet floor. And I remember this specific time, I could see under the door that they were standing behind a couch instead of sitting on the couch. And they put the TV on because they were trying to trick me that they were just sitting there watching TV. However, they were standing where I was, where the toilet was, behind the couch. So I could see that they were trying to trick me that, oh no, I've just gone and like sat down and watched TV. You can come out and try and get past me now to get to your kids. But this person was standing there guarding the path that I had to take to get to my children and to get away from him. I just thought, no. At this stage, this person had been abusive a few times, and I just thought, no, I'm not engaging. I'm not playing these games. If I sit here long enough, maybe he'll switch back to the other person. And that didn't happen. But I thought, I'm just going to wait it out. Like, he has to stop. He has to realize that he's arguing with himself. We never argued. I think I'd said in a previous episode, I used to think domestic violence was two people who argued and it just got more and more aggressive until they got violent. I didn't realize that it can be like this whole manipulative, calculated psychopath type thing with a plan, with intent. I'm not the first victim, kind of absolute, like a criminal. And the police said this person was very, very dangerous and they used the word psychopath. So I stood there for ages and they weren't leaving. They weren't budging. And my kids, I had to tuck them in. I don't know. I don't remember if I tucked them in. I wanted to check they're okay, or I don't remember the specifics, but I needed to get past this person. If I came out, they're going to start again and I could get really hurt. There's no witnesses. Oh, there's so much I want to say, but I just don't want to give any indicators as to who this is. Because the reason they said they did this was to manipulate certain people who were living in this residence to think ill of me. And if they were around, best behaviour. If my kids or me were around, kept hitting me, abused me, didn't care. It was all a show for that. It was just the fact that someone can switch on and switch off. And they say this, if someone can switch on and switch off domestic violence, like behaviours, if they can just raise their fist to hit you and then suddenly put it down and go, hi, yeah, no, they are in complete control. If they can switch it on and switch it off, depending on who's standing in the room, that is 100% conscious control. So I had to come up with a plan. I came up with a plan to run out suddenly, like open the door slowly, they can't hear me, and then just run so I could get past them without them getting me. I remember building up to it. I was so scared. Like in these moments, It's like you're in a horror film or playing some horror game, like a Xbox game or something, and you've got to make decisions. And you've never had to do this before, much like nothing like this before. And you're just so out of like reality. It's so weird. And it's like being in a thriller movie, like, but it's real. Things I've seen like this on movies was happening to me, where there's some terrifying person. So I slowly opened the door and then I went for it. I ran to get past them, and I nearly did, because it was that sudden, like, everything's quiet, they're pretending they're watching TV. We'd waited ages, and then I suddenly zoom, and then their very big arm and hand grabbed me and threw me into furniture that was up against a wall, and then restrained me and grabbed me and threw me on the ground and pinned me down. And I was covered in bruises from that. I was so hurt, and I did not succeed in getting past. I don't remember the specifics, but they would have carried on and been more violent for a while after that. And they usually, especially if I had to work the next day early in the morning, like a 7 a.m. start, they would keep me up intentionally till 2 a.m. So eventually they get tired and we're all allowed to go to bed, but you're not allowed to sleep. You are not. I begged for sleep. I've disengaged completely lying on a bed. If you do that, you get hit bad. They want to play. They want a reaction. But I worked in mental health. They probably shouldn't have chosen someone like that, because I deal with those kind of behaviors in very unwell people at work, and I don't emotionally react, because I am trained and experienced at work that this person is unwell. I'm not going to emotionally respond. I'm going to help them, but still be firm and keeping everyone safe. So he wasn't getting the reactions he wanted from me. So he would try harder, and then he would always have the go-to, your kids. When he went for them and he hurt them, he knew that would work. So he had things that would work. One time, I did end up calling my work and telling them I was going to kill myself. He loved this whole idea of women killing themselves. He pushed other people to do that. And he tried to push me, and I looked him dead in the eye and said, I'm never going to do that. Don't even try. And then he'd like to lie to people that I was suicidal, because he knew that discredited me and made me look, he thinks it's weak and unwell and all this thing. But then the person who went to prison used that, being suicidal, to try and get a lesser sentence and to get out of it. So they use that to accuse other people of it who aren't, but then they use it to try and get out of things. It's all just it's all this mind crap. It's disgusting. So that was one hiding. Another hiding, I remember being on a bathroom floor, and I remember thinking about like friends I had at work at the time and just thinking, have you ever been through this? Like, oh, I'm so ashamed. Why am I sitting here? Like, this is horrible. And crying and just thinking, this is so embarrassing. Like, what is going on? But knowing in that moment, of all the options in front of me, it was the best of a very bad list of options. And the options were all courtesy of this one person. A normal, healthy relationship, you're not going to be sitting on a floor of anything. I am mentally healthy, mentally well. I don't go sitting on floors. Oh, I do not sit on disgusting toilet floors. Literally, it had to be a very serious, dangerous moment, because I'm telling you, there ain't no way that's happening. Yuck. I hid in a walk-in cupboard. The handle was torn off that, I think twice. I hid in a room. The handle was torn off that a couple of times. I've hidden in bathrooms. Boom, straight in there. I could not hide anywhere. This person's physical strength was their weapon. And that's something that also gets me, is that it is illegal for women to have pepper spray. In my country where I live, in Australia, it is illegal to have pepper spray. But men carry their weapon around with them 24/7. 24/7. Their weapon is their natural muscle mass, which is produced in the body thanks to testosterone. And that is such an unfortunate thing, that this person constantly had that control over me physically. He always did whatever he wanted to me in any way he wanted to me. He had so much strength physically. Testosterone equals a higher muscle mass. It's biology, and I have seen the results of that. And that's when something switched in me when I was held hostage and the only weapon this person has was their muscle mass, male muscle mass compared to my female muscle mass. That's the only weapon they used to hold me hostage. And it worked so effectively. And that's when I really became a feminist. And I never felt so female and vulnerable in my life than when I was held hostage, simply because I don't have testosterone. I don't have male muscle mass to make me strong enough to get out of the door that I ran out so many times and got beaten every time I tried. So sorry, I went from hiding into male muscle mass and strength. But I let the tangent train, choo-choo, motherfucker. I let the tangent train go sometimes because I think naturally discussing things is more of that vulnerability. It's more real, and we got to keep it real, and it's sharing. And it is scary. I'm just like, who's going to hear this? There's obviously concerns for that particular person hearing it, but you're lucky I haven't said your name because legally I can. So find another hobby. Stop stalking me. Literally. If they put out a podcast, I know why I'm listening to that. I don't want to know one thing about this person ever again. I have no interest in it. And the fact that someone might have an interest in what someone that they were with is doing, that's a sign there that, yeah. Anyway, so that brings us to the end. But what I wanted to tell you was about next week. Because I felt like green flags was a bit flat for me. I'm sorry. I know I've just discussed something really heavy. And we're still sort of riding that freaked out, oh my gosh, did I just tell them all this stuff that makes me look so vulnerable and so shameful and yeah, I'm not going to go there. But I'm just going to keep talking. Green flags was a bit flat. It was a bit like, yeah, well, we know this, whatever. Next week, we're starting the narcissism series. Very important. What is a narcissist? 101, because there'll be 102 in the future. We know it. And then after that, an episode on narcissistic abuse. So we're starting the whole narcissism series next week. I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you because I know when I was in that and when I came out of it, I was Googling a storm up, looking for information. I thought I knew a lot. I knew red flags. I knew boundaries. I knew a lot about domestic violence. I had completed courses at that stage, but I didn't know about narcissism and narcissistic abuse. And it's one of the things I learned that really, really helped me in my recovery. And I really want that for anyone else out there in that same period of time. So that's it for today. loveisabattlefieldpodcast at gmail.com. Loveisabattlefield, no D, on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. Facebook, there's a page and a private group. So sorry, green flags was a bit, yeah, we knew that. We'll get pumped up for narcissism series starting next week with episode 4 next week. See you then and keep it real and stay safe. Love you, bye.